And thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. The teacher unions here in Ghana appealing to the government through His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, to tackle what they describe as the mass resignation of teachers out of the system. And the situation, they claim, is causing a severe shortage of teachers across the country. Here's President of the Ghana National Association of Teachers speaking today at the Ghana Teacher Prize and indicating to the President that they need more money to fix the problem.
Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I stand on behalf of the unions to present our statements. October 5 each year is celebrated as the World Teachers' Day. It is the day on which education is assessed worldwide, and a look taken at the issues of teachers and strategies to address them outlined. In fact, teachers are also appreciated for their exceptional display of competencies and contributions to the advancement of the human resource growth of countries by the product they turn out from the schools, colleges of education, universities, and other tertiary institutions. Your Excellency, historically, October 5 is a product of UNESCO ILO recommendations of 1966, which set forth the rights and responsibilities of teachers, the international standard of their training, recruitment, employment, and working condition. The National Best Teacher Award, instituted in 1994 and later christened the Ghana Teacher Prize, is to motivate teachers for higher performance and the respect the teaching profession should enjoy. Your Excellency, this therefore explains why it is absolutely important that teachers are well motivated to teach effectively and efficiently. Thus, the establishment of the National Best Teacher Award scheme in October 1994 by the Ministry of Education, then under the leadership of the late Mr. Harris Sawyer, to recognize and reward the country's hardworking teachers. This year's World Teachers' Day theme, which has been adopted by the Ghana Teacher Prize, is the teachers we need and the education we want. The global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage is apt. And here, let me recognize our positive deviance, Professor Bikrai, who 3 days ago gave us a solution to the theme. That, Your Excellency, to reverse teacher shortages in Ghana, give Ghanaian teachers more money. If you give us more money, we will not go anywhere. We will stay and serve our motherland. In order to have effective and efficient teachers being well motivated, Your Excellency, the teacher unions, NATS, NAGRAT, CCT, and our colleagues too, would like to remind the Ghana Education Service and the TVET service of the following. Your Excellency, the payment of the 20% gross salary for teachers who accept postings to underserved areas should be prioritized. And here we want to admonish our sector minister to give us a deliberate policy that will attract and retain teachers who accept postings to these areas.
Also, the concerns of the teachers there at the event, which is underway in the Western region. It's time now to look at these concerns because the Institute for Education Studies, IFA, says that it has observed a teacher-student ratio has deteriorated across the 10 regions. And of course, we know that now that we have 16 regions, but when it carried out the baseline survey right from 2015 to where we are now, it appears that that ratio appears to be declining. This is the same for, school building repairs and also when it comes to professional teachers. On the other hand, the availability of portable water and textbooks have also seen a significant improvement over the period, and it's the reason for which we need to hear from Dr. Peter Antipati, who is the Executive Director for IFAS, joining us via Zoom now. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. We're just hearing from the teachers now, indicating that they need more money. But let's get to the data as you have it, first of all. Why are we seeing this sharp decline in the number of teachers?
To your viewers, let me make this point that any conversation about shortage of teachers should be looked at from the perspective of the number of teachers that are available to a specific number of students. In Ghana, when we are talking about shortage of teachers, we have a number that we want, a number of students that we want each teacher to have access to. So we have a teacher to student ratio of 1:25 to 35 students. It means that in every class, or when you look at the total number of students on enrollment and you divide that with the number of teachers, you should have at least teacher attending to a maximum of 35 students. Now, if you look at that from that perspective, and you track this from the EMIS data, I mean, the EMIS data is the data that is from the Ministry of Education, and they collect data about every variable in an education system at the basic level, senior high school level, and so forth, every year. So every year they have these data that they collect, and that is what they call the annual school census survey. If you track it from 2015 to 2016, up to 2021, you would see that because you are using the base year of 2015-2016, we are dealing with 10 regions. Of course, the 16 regions is still embedded in the 10 regions. You will see that over the past 6 years, this ratio has deteriorated. And that means that although, according to some of our authority officials, they think that we have a lot of teachers available. And of course, I've heard the minister saying that the problem is more about deployment. The point is that the number of students, enrollment has increased over the years. That has not had a corresponding increase in the recruitment of teachers. So you will go to a school, you have a teacher in the school, all right, but that teacher is handling about 50, 60, 75, 80, 90 students, which is above the standard that we have set for ourselves. And if you have situations like this, then you have a situation whereby teachers will not want to continue to stay in the classroom because they are overwhelmed by the challenges that they face. This is part of the other variables, 14 variables that we analyze, and you can see that some of all these variables that contribute to the delivery of quality education, especially teacher to student ratio, has deteriorated over the years. And that explains the focus that says that we are having shortage of teachers. So any other narrative that seems to say that we have surplus of teachers is not taking into consideration the variable, which is the people or the number of students that each teacher is supposed to look at.
Talk about all 14. The teacher unions believe it's a simple one. It's all about money.
Please, can you come again?
I was just talking about the variables you were looking at. The teacher unions have one single message. They believe it's all about money.
Yes, it's all about money, because when you give them, they think it's all about money, because they think that when you give them, you pay them according to what they are doing, they will be able to do what they are supposed to do. But of course, you have to pay them and also provide them with the needed resources. So if you look at the 14 variables, we are looking at availability of water, and these are the variables that come from the SDG 4. So if you go through the SDG 4, these indicators are there that if you want to provide quality education for your people within the target of 2030, these are the things that should be available: textbooks, computers, people to desk ratio, ICT facilities, library, toilet facilities, supervision, availability of professional teachers, electricity, access to road. All these are variables that should be in place to ensure that human resource, which is the teacher, is comfortable within the environment that is delivering education, and then he will be able to deliver education. So for me, the issue is more of a broader teacher welfare matter than just looking at the finances. Of course, the finance is good, but if you pay the teacher 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and the environment through which the teacher is supposed to deliver, it's not conducive, that teacher will not be able to exercise his or her mandate. So I think that the focus should be on looking at the holistic nature of teacher welfare, including availability of housing, even for the teacher himself, a position whereby the teacher would enter the classroom and has a clear mind and a clear soul to be able to deliver education. And that is where the focus should be, and not just about paying them money.
Beyond that issue, we see, the disparity in terms of the availability of teachers, and this appears to be affecting rural communities, deprived areas the most. Why are we having that challenge of still, pumping more of the human resource in terms of teachers to rural areas? It's still a challenge in 2023.
Yes, because when we decided to even, and I think the video clip you played talk about that. Right. When he decided to even pay 20% of the teacher's basic salary to him because he's going to a deprived community, we have not been able to fulfill that. And when you have these things happening, nobody would want to stay in a rural community. Of course, nobody would want to be in a deprived community. Everybody wants access to electricity, access to mobile network, access to good health care, access to water, access to good roads, and at least a good housing system. And if you do not have these available in communities, it becomes difficult for the teacher to stay there. So the challenge that we are having with deprived communities, the less teachers staying there. You see, sometimes people get postings, they go there, within the next 2 years, they have been transferred to other places because they cannot cope with their life there. And that is why it still fits into my general welfare theory that I'm talking about. If you want teachers to stay in the various communities, apart from paying them extra money in terms of their basic salary as an allowance, you need to provide a conducive environment where the teacher will feel that I can have good access to health for my family. I have a little good housing there. The access to the community is okay. Mobile network is okay. There's electricity there. And when the teacher feels that, at least some of them would want to stay. I have visited villages where these NGOs have built houses for teachers, and you have teachers staying in there. But where the teacher would have to travel kilometers wide to be able to get to the school, and when he closes, he gets back using the same long distance without access to any form of transportation, you do not expect that young guy like myself, like those young people coming out from the university and the colleges of education, to spend their entire life in these communities, because by the time they move out from these communities, their colleagues in the cities might have gone ahead of them. That is why you need to think strategically about those who are accepting postings into these deprived areas and develop policies to take care of them.
But then the issue about, for instance, getting government to at least push all first-time trainees, those who are about to be graduated, to all of these rural communities will be part of the solution in addressing all of these concerns, isn't it?
Exactly. But then when you do that, the next 2 to 3 years, these guys will still leave the village. So you remember some time ago, we used to do that for the nurses. People who were from particular places were sponsored by the district to pursue career, education in the nursing. And when they finish, they are supposed to come back to the district to serve. I think that was a model that was helping. But the sad thing is that after they have served for the 2-3 years, these people will leave the place. Why are they leaving? So the push factor is what we look at. Why would a young guy want to leave a place that he's teaching? He's leaving because he sees no future for himself. He's leaving because he's not having a decent accommodation. He's leaving because in this time and age, even if he's doing distance education, he's not having access to mobile network. You cannot keep these young ones in these places for a long period of time. So you need to strategically give them certain kinds of motivation that will make them stay. Apart from providing them with decent housing and other materials, you should also make sure that in terms of their promotion, for example, when it came to the TM1 laptop that they shared, I was thinking that teachers in rural Ghana, deprived areas, should have been given the laptop for free. These are the things that you do to motivate people to stay in these places, to educate the children there. But you treat them like those who are also in the urban centers, then you are giving them reasons to live where they are to these urban centers, because of course the opportunities out there is greater than the ones that they're experiencing in the rural settings.
Let's look at the implications of all of this on the education sector itself. Because if you don't have teachers, obviously there's trouble, isn't it?
Yes, and I will even go a step further to say, if you don't have quality teachers, then there's trouble. So another point is that you might think that you have excess teachers because you are not looking at the quality of the teachers that are entering your classroom. Now, teachers play a central role in the delivery of education. So if you don't have teachers, it means that your delivery of education is in trouble, and it means that you are not going to have the kind of students that you want to have at the end of the day, because you are making investments in these people's lives. Capitation grant that you are paying is an investment. If you are building schools, it's an investment. If you are supplying them with textbooks, it's an investment. At the end of the day, you want to reap the returns of these investments. If you are not having the qualified teachers to handle them and for them the quality education that they need, what is going to happen is that you push these people through the educational system, but they will not be useful to the society. And that is why we need to keep our teachers. We need to find ways and means to reduce the attrition rate. And we need to also ensure that the teachers are given the requisite resources for them to be able to deliver the quality education that we want our wards to get.
Okay, let's round off with this way forward. And of course, what the assurances we're getting from the president indicating that the conditions of service for teachers will be looked at and that his government will address all of these emerging concerns. Where should the president start from?
It becomes difficult when some of these things are said, because as somebody who studied the education sector for a long time, I see politicians promising teachers a lot of things. You go through their manifestos, you see both from the NDC era to this time, a lot of things have been said to the teacher, but hardly do these things materialize. So I sometimes find it difficult to believe that some of these things are as promised by politicians would come to pass. But I think that we need to, as I've said, we need to start from the young teachers. We need to encourage them to love the profession. People love the teaching profession, of course. And that is why they want to pursue a career in that direction. They go to colleges and you are paying them allowances. It means that you also show interest in what they want to do. When they are coming out, there should be conscious effort to keep them in the profession. And that should start from how we treat teachers. A treatment in terms of the resources that they need to teach, and of course, some of the little things that they need to get. For example, responsibility allowance. Teachers do administrative work alongside the teaching. Some of them do that. How much are you giving them? Sometimes you give them 10 cedis, 20 cedis. What would 20 cedis do to a teacher who is a housemaster? So those are the things those little things are the things that we have to look at. Again, promotion. People want to, they have gone through the system and they've taught for years. They need to be promoted. They have to wait till it becomes difficult. So those are the things that we can do immediately. And then as we go on, we look at housing system for teachers, maybe starting from those who are in deprived areas. We can build a community housing we can have a community housing scheme for the teachers in rural areas, and then we can extend that to those in the urban centers to pay at a subsidized rate. So these are the things that I think we need to do. But more importantly, we need to look at the amount, the salary that we pay teachers. As we continue to increase their remuneration, I think that most of them would want to stay and help the Ghanaian school child.
Okay, we need to go, but today, of course, we're celebrating teachers as well. Any message to the fraternity?
Yeah, I'm happy that we are celebrating teachers today. I thank all teachers in Ghana, my teachers from primary school to the university level. I want to mention names. I might be in trouble, but of course, my mentor, Professor Idana, Professor Samuel Enim, Professor Kamara, Professor Kankam Wedu, and all those who have been of enormous help to me and all of us in terms of our education journey. We say congratulations to teachers. We wish them well, and we pray that one day, the God that they have served through humanity would open doors for all of us teachers, for us to enjoy life here before we get to heaven. I was coming to say in heaven, but they wouldn't be happy. So we have to enjoy life here a little, then we can continue in heaven.
Yeah.
Thank you, teacher. Thank you, teachers in Ghana. God bless you. God bless us all.
Yeah, indeed. Their reward is in heaven, as many would say. But of course, it's the norm, isn't it? We keep telling teachers their reward is in heaven. Anyway, interesting times ahead. Dr. Peter Anti, thank you for spending some time with us. Well, social media is still in shock over a 15-year-old renal patient on dialysis at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital who appealed for support in an interview with Joy News, who we now have confirmed has died. The mother of the young girl, Priscilla Asante, revealed that the daughter passed away early Sunday at 1 a.m. Priscilla is just one of the scores of patients who are unable to access dialysis services owing to the surge in cost of treatment, a situation which has got many Ghanaians on social media calling for an immediate solution. Well, my colleague Richard Kojunyako followed the story. He'll be joining us shortly to share with us details of what's happening to this very young lady as we know it. But beyond that as well, we do know that we're paying attention to the issue a bit more seriously. Let's get to Richard Kojunyako first of all, who's joining us via Zoom on this. Richard, if you're with us, the question about the passing of this young girl, do we know exactly what happened? We'll bring you that shortly. For now, our latest spotlight is on Kasim Belkis, who's battling a kidney disease and goes for dialysis 3 times a week. Sometimes, she's locked out of the school for being late as a result of going for dialysis at the Upper West Regional Hospital. She's a child of a single parent and depends on the benevolence of family members to raise at least 1,500 cedis for a weekly dialysis. On our dialysis crisis series today, journalist Rafiq Salam met her at the dialysis center at the regional hospital and reports that there are only 2 dialysis machines at the center with over a dozen patients.
15-year-old Kasim Rais Belkis, almost a year and a half ago, was diagnosed of kidney disease that requires her to do dialysis.
It started when my BP started rising and I came to the hospital for a checkup. I was diagnosed with a nephrotic syndrome, kidney disease, and I was admitted here and transferred back to the Colombo Teaching Hospital. And I came back here to start the dialysis just 15th June and 11 days to 5 months today.
Since she started going to the Upper West Regional Hospital for the dialysis on June 15, she has been there 38 times, and this session requires at least 450 Ghana cedis for the treatment. The amount of money involved is too colossal for a child of a single parent.
As a single mother I'm born with, she's managing, I'm proud of her, and yeah.
So a week you come here 3 times?
Yeah, sometimes 2, sometimes 3.
So the minimum money paid is 450 Ghana cedis?
Yeah, sometimes the costs take to 1,900, getting to 1,000, so we're just money.
The least amount required in a month to enable her to go for the dialysis treatment at the hospital is 5,400 Ghana cedis. Her grandmother, Amamata Ibrahim, was almost in tears, narrating the ordeal they go through to raise the money for the treatment. She has to depend on close family relations to foot the cost of the dialysis for the granddaughter.
I have been supported greatly by my family members. There are others who doesn't have such support. Our plan is even to send her to India for kidney transplant. Dialysis, you cannot afford. How do you pay for the cost of transplants outside?
Transplant. It want to afford the dialysis. In about a transplant.
Amamata Ibrahim says the amount involved is staggering and should be reviewed downwards.
15 million. Every week, 15
Every
million.
week, we pay minimum 1,500 Ghana cedis. There are even times that we come for a session which is supposed to be 450 Ghana cedis, but you end up by paying 700 Ghana cedis. But we heard government says they want to increase. 450 Ghana cedis we can't pay, and you want over 700 Ghana cedis. Do you want to kill us? Ever since we started this dialysis, at least 6 persons have so far died because they cannot pay. If I want to say more, I will end up crying. I will appeal to government to include it in the list of medication for the National Health Insurance Scheme.
A view shared by her granddaughter, who wants the cost to be subsidized or made to be free.
Because no one has money. You can't even afford a 3 square meal. So how can you afford dialysis 750 or 350? Some people, they are helping them. So sometimes they can't even afford food to eat. How will they afford the 350? People can't afford the dialysis every 3 days a week. So if they just include it in their health insurance, so you can just bring your health insurance so the government can pay part of the bill and you pay part, it will be helpful to them.
Kasim Reis Belkis just finished junior high school and waiting for her results of the Basic Education Certificate Examination BCE. She recalled the challenges she went through at the school before she completed. She was a perpetual latecomer and many occasions was locked out by the school security personnel at the gate.
And I always feel guilty. Why will I be going to school late? And the watchman, he sometimes he doesn't understand. Sometimes he will lock the gates. Why will you be an exception to come to school late? But by God's grace, I was a third-year student and I was able to write.
The dialysis center here has 3 machines, but only 2 are working. As a result, she has to wake up early on any of the treatment days in order to avoid the long queues here.
It's affecting us. We can't just be in line every day. We can't wake up 4 o'clock to be in line just to be first and go back home to rest. Why? We need more machines and more equipment for this dialysis.
The dialysis center of the Upper West Region Hospital was established in November 2022 through support from Asase Foundation. Medical Director of the Upper West Region Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, averred that the fee charge is for the maintenance of the machines.
But for a hospital, what we try to do is not to cash in on patients. The reverse side is, if your input cost is higher than your output cost, then you should just prepare for a shutdown of the center. And we know private centers that started and shut down. We know public centers that started and shut down. The machines use light. Now we are required to pay for light. The machines have to be serviced. You need money to service. The people that service the machines are not in YA. They come from Accra. Everything in life has a lifespan, including human beings. After some period of time, you die. These machines are not going to work forever.
Since the establishment of the center, over 5 dozen patients do come here for dialysis. Kurisa Daniel is in charge here at the center.
We do have problems with them because you tell them what is due or what is right for them to do, like coming for dialysis 3 times in a week. Some of them default, and because of the default, some of them develop complications at the end of the day. Some are not even able to come twice a week. They come once a week, and once a week, those doing dialysis, they know it's just like you are not doing anything. and it won't take long. Then complication will start, and the patient automatically, if nothing is done about it, she dies.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Well, Rafi giving us the very latest in our series on the dialysis crisis, but this story is evolving with an angle on illegal mining, because illegal miners should be wary of kidney diseases. That's the warning coming through from the Ghana Kidney Association as it engages stakeholders to make dialysis accessible and affordable to persons with kidney diseases. We can now get more from Erastus Asaridonko, who's joining us via Zoom on this. Erastus, let's talk about the concerns of this association and why many of us obviously were not looking at the aspect of illegal mining. Why is that coming up strongly?
Well, it has always been there, and I think the association did not even mention, it was giving a warning to illegal miners alone that they should be aware. I think they should be telling the entire Ghanaian citizenry that we should all be aware. Now, in my upcoming documentary, Poison for Gold, we'll be showing you some people who have been exposed to heavy metals through mercury vapor or vaporized mercury, for example. It's in the system. We have gold smelting joints scattered all across the rural setting in Ghana. And these illegal miners are using gold, mercury to create the gold amalgam, and they burn these substances to reveal the gold. All that vaporized mercury is getting into the system. We've spoken with experts who have used mercury analyzers to check the air, contamination in certain areas, which has so far proven positive for mercury. And people are inhaling this within the communities. And we all know the link between some of these heavy metals and kidney problems and other problems as well. We are looking at polluted waters all across our country. We have done some tests. We fetched samples of these and we tested them. We are seeing arsenic, we are seeing cadmium, we are seeing chromium, we are seeing lead in many of the polluted rivers you see around. And we are also getting expert research into the soil pollution, contamination as well, which people are naive about it, but they are growing food crops and bringing to the markets in Accra and Kumasi and its environs for people to eat.
Really?
So gradually, yes, of course. And so in my upcoming documentary, we'll be giving you evidence of all these. So when you look at it from every angle, illegal mining is coming at us with all these pollutants. Who knows? We have not done extensive research to get to know how these contaminants we see in our polluted rivers are contributing to renal cases that we are having. I think that should be our concern very much, that the government should do a full-scale research into how these are pointing to renal cases that we are having across the country. And I think the Kidney Association people should also be directing research in that area to help change policy, especially as we are joking with the fight against illegal mining.
Right. We'll be hearing from Dr. Thomas Anava shortly, but from your initial interaction with experts, do you get a sense that it might be a contributory factor to kidney disease? I mean, the fact that you have pollutants in some of these water bodies, the farm produce having very high, sulfuric levels. What indications are you getting on that?
Well, so on our rounds, the miners, the gold buyers who are smelting these, mercury amalgams, gold amalgams themselves have gotten certain complications. We have spoken with some of them who have as much as 100 micrograms per deciliter of mercury in their blood. We have some of them, people who are not smelting gold, who have a level of high levels of concentrations of heavy metals in their blood just by staying within the communities and going through the contaminants, polluted waters, and even polluted air as well. And we are gathering all this data and we are seeing the linkages. We are talking to experts who have done works in this area, Prisia and Bogoso, contaminated soils and all that. So it's not something that this time around we're just showing you polluted waters, but we're showing you evidence of a possible linkage between these contaminants and the not kidney cases alone, but other diseases that are coming up in our OPDs.
So we can't wait for that. Of course, it's coming up strongly, and be expecting us as Harry Donko to bring you the very latest on that. Grateful for spending some time with us. But of course, Richard Kojinyanko is also here in studio with us, just to talk about that tragic story of the 15-year-old Priscilla that we lost. Of course, you met her. She was appealing, asking for help just to deal with the high cost of dialysis treatment. And a lot more is coming up later on the Journey channel, which we will tell you about. Dr. Thomas Anaba is with us. But let's get the story of this lady before we look at the science behind all of this. There was a surge in the cost. Then you found this little girl who says, my parents can't afford.
Yeah, so usually the kidney cases, they start, but you don't even realize or recognize it. So until the triggers, so the triggers come when the doctors will tell you that 2 of the kidneys, they've stopped functioning. And so that is why you see some of them, they can't even do anything. So they have to go to various hospitals and medical facilities to test variously for. So one of the last resorts will be to test for kidney. And then once they go, then they test for.
So what we see on the screen now is the young girl, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's the typical process someone would go through.
So on Friday, we went to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, just the past Friday. So we went to interview her, and nothing showed that she will pass away, even though it's a regular process. So for a whole month, she's been on the dialysis. So after the interview, we came putting the story together, and then we got wind that she passed 1 a.m. on Sunday. In fact, yesterday after airing the story in the morning, in the afternoon, then someone from the Chufu Mampong community gave me a call and said, oh, the young lady you are doing the story about passed on Sunday. I said, wow.
So sad.
Yeah, so just a short time that the lady is just gone.
And her issue is about cost, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And the issue for her is about cost, and not only for her, but for many of the people that, I mean, we also told you the story of Thomas Vincent Khan, who has been on the dialysis for the past 10 years. In fact, I was involved at the initial stages where we had to even get the public to donate to support. In fact, at that time, I think we got like 70,000. We wanted to get an amount, an appreciable amount that would get him a transplant, but we tried and we couldn't even.
And it didn't work. For those who are not are just watching us feeling, oh, this is just another health crisis, it will all go away. But they need to know the pain and the challenge for many who are not able to access healthcare when treating kidney disease. Let's talk about how much is required, for instance, just on the average, to just go on this dialysis treatment.
So let me tell you the story about Priscilla. Priscilla spends 1 month on a dialysis machine. So the mother, who is a farmer, the father is also a farmer. So they have to spend 1,000 Ghana cedis, 1,000 Ghana cedis every week. It is required that you need 3 sessions, but I mean you can
within a week.
Within a week, so you can make do with 2 sessions, and so a session costs them 500 Ghana cedis because being on the dialysis machine will be 350 together with other medication, and sometimes you may also need blood, and so it costs them 1,000 Ghana cedis. So imagine coughing up like 4,000 Ghana cedis in a month, and being a daughter of a farmer.
You're not talking about the cost of transport here.
Exactly, because now they have to also travel 100 kilometers to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital to access that facility. She's not coming alone, she's coming with the mom, and look at the high cost of transport fares and the other. So if you put all of them together in a month, it will cost them like 5,000 Ghana cedis. So you ask yourself, averagely, how many families would be able to afford that? Yes, so when it happens to you and people get wind of that, some will attempt to donate. But for how long will you go to, like I come to you, Blessed, give me 1,000 Ghana cedis, I want to go.
And this is a condition you live with for the rest.
And before you get to that stage, then the doctors may have certified that 2 of your kidneys are not functioning. And that is why they are consistently stressing tests. And I've heard a lot of the medical professionals saying that when you get to the age of 40, at least you should test like 3 times in a year, so that so they can see it early. So if one is not functioning, yes, you can stay on one. If one is not functioning, then you can have remedies around it, so you'll be able to live, and then they will give you medications for you to be able to.
Okay, Kojo, what this is bringing out clearly is the fact that, yes, we must admit that we have a national crisis. In fact, later on the Joy News channel, we're bringing you a thought leadership, which will be on this dialysis crisis. And that's why I also want to bring in Dr. Thomas Anaba, who is the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Health Policy Research and Analysis. Dr. Anaba, you've been hearing the harrowing stories. We've lost Prisla. We don't want to lose anyone else, right? Because even if the equipment is there, people can come in and help, but we don't have the equipment.
Even the renal machines are not that many. So for some of them, because they have to go to the hospital to queue for a very long time, for Thomas like this, he has to wake up around 3 a.m. to go to the facility.
This is someone who's not healthy already.
Exactly. So it has impact on their health as well.
Wow. Dr. Anaba, how do we fix this? What sort of policy should we be looking at?
Thank you very much for having me, and I would like to appreciate the first person who you interviewed, the journalist, for giving us a very elaborate information about possible causes of renal failures. How do we fix this? First of all, we have to look at the causative factors. And as you heard from the previous presenters, our environment is one of the main causes of the renal failure in Ghana. So if we take Galamsey, I will tell you that most of the people currently in the southern part of Ghana, where mining is going on with renal failures, I can say their cause of renal failure is because of heavy metals in the waters that flow in the rivers, and the waters they drink, in the vegetables they eat, in the fruits they eat, and in the rest. Remember, mercury has been recorded, and other heavy metals have been recorded in our cocoa, and the European Union is warning about mercury in our fish. And even the animals who drink from it, we eat their meats. They all come with heavy metals, and heavy metals will lead to renal failure. So we first of all have to look for the causative factors. Repeated sore throat caused by streptococcus can lead to a renal failure. So many people with sore throat who have been treated it frequently, especially the young children, can end up having a renal failure, and then the rest. Patients with hypertension, we have to look at how we can manage hypertension and stop giving chances to pastors and imams to pray to resolve hypertension. If you don't treat your hypertension, you are causing more pressure on the kidneys and the filters, and the kidney would fail one day and you have problems. Diabetes is a cause of hypertension. These are all diseases that are non-communicable, and that it is lifestyle changes and education that can help us to solve it. But when somebody gets a renal failure, it means the person has a do or die issue. The person must either have dialysis or have a renal transplant or die. This is where I think that government needs to come in to support these people, because the cost of doing dialysis and the income levels of Ghanaians is not commensurate to each other. You can't just do it unless you are fortunate to be in a family that is rich, or that is very connected, or that has benevolent people elsewhere in their associations to help you, or else you can't have it done. So I think that there must be a measure whereby government will say, look, every dialysis, I want patients to pay this, the rest I will take care of it. I think that should be the best solution. First, educate the people about the hazard, the dangers, make sure we eliminate the risk factors, and then those who get it, we help them subsidize the treatment. It is not like malaria that you can either take Coartem or Lonart or any other anti-malaria and get it resolved. No, it is something that we must get the dialysis done. Getting the renal transplant in Ghana is not something easy, virtually impossible unless you travel out of Ghana. And even if you come back, the cost of it is not easy. I tell you, the renal patients don't only go there for the dialysis. Like they said, they buy medications. For their hemoglobin, some of them buy erythropoietin. Every week they have to inject it, which is costing about 300 cedis. They have to buy cardiovascular drugs, antihypertensive drugs. They have to buy, some of them are diabetic, they have to buy diabetes drugs. They have to modify their diet. And you know how expensive it is to modify diet in Ghana. So this is where I think that government needs to come out with a policy on how to help reduce the risk factors and also support those who fall into this ailment or fall foul of this and get ill, so that at least their families will be relieved. No one should say it's very expensive, so at the end they will die. No, as it was said by one of my heroes, Fidel Castro, the health of one person in this country was far valuable than the whole wealth of the entire world. So it doesn't matter how much we spend treating people with dialysis to save their lives. It is how we can keep people alive when they are sick. And I think dialysis is one of the things that government should give priority to. At least taxes should be taken off, like people are called, and it should be part of NHIA. And at least, if government even want the people to contribute, it should be some basic amount that they should contribute, so that at least they will have an extended lifetime to have a sigh of relief. Because the families, I've known families who have sold houses just because of dialysis. And we think that government needs to step in this time.
Dr. Anaba, if you can hear me, I was just, pointing to the fact that you've managed a public hospital before, because you've managed the Greater Accra Regional Hospital before. You know that the cost is simply unbearable for government. Government can't just take off the cost as you're recommending. So how do we, find a nice balance between getting government intervention and also dealing with the cost component?
Please, no one can tell me it is unbearable for governments. We have money in this country. The fact is that we do not prioritize. And I can just give you some few examples. $70 million invested in digging a hole to build a church. Do you know how many people with renal failures can get dialysis? For 2 good years, 12,000 people, 3 sessions a week, can get renal dialysis for 2 good years. Do you know how much we spent in fumigating for COVID-19, which was a useless venture? 91 million. Do you know how many people can get dialysis with this money? A whole lot of people. It is how we invest. Do you know how much we spend in renting accommodation for COVID patients that was never used, an accommodation? 15 million Ghana cedis and 12 million Ghana cedis at advance, and no single person lied in that house in Adaku. Please, we are wasting resources on useless ventures. We don't prioritize, or else this is not too much for government. After all, it is our taxes. If you use it to save anybody's life, the same people will work to pay the tax. So to me, saying that it is too much a burden on government. Do you know how much it costs to finance the stay of Ken Oporeata's daughter in the US? $52,000 a year. What course is he doing? Undergraduate course. And you think we don't have money?
Okay.
So please, I think it is misplaced priority that Ghana is facing. I am speaking from a standpoint of applying our resources, our meager income judiciously. Because if I want to go on and count on ventures that have been taking place, investment that we have done, that has gone wasted. $2 million in investing in tight frame, that never came. How did we use to help the renal dialysis patients?
Okay.
So please, improperly.
Right. Dr. Naba, just hold on for me because Richard is still here. Richard, what more issues did you see, as part of the challenge that many of these renal patients were facing when, of course, you were carrying out the story with Priscilla?
Like I told you, so people, for the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, for example, people from the Western region, people from some parts of the Ashanti region, people from various parts of the country, they come. So, and this is a renal unit that does not have a lot of the machines, so people would have to even struggle, even with money, they have to even be struggling to even be on a dialysis machine. And apart from that, just as Dr. Naba has intimated, the cost. So it keeps people. So
is it that this is a piece of equipment we can't buy, like an individual can't buy? Or,
well, and that is why he's pointing
yeah.
to us that we can actually buy
it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But so if you look at what the medical professionals who work at the renal unit will tell you, that some families get dejected and then they come. Because see, you are torn between saving the life of your relative, your son, your daughter, your father, your mother, and then also looking at costing, I mean, the amount of money you spend on the dialysis. So for instance, you want your daughter to live, but how much can you afford to ensure that your daughter survives or something? So it's really, you are torn in a critical position. Just that if you are my brother and you are a patient of a kidney patient, so I don't want to lose my brother. But then again, I need to also look for money to ensure that my brother survives.
So this is the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, right? So serving, say, the central region, I believe. Let's look at the disparities in the procurement, or perhaps the circulation of these machinery across our health facilities. So we are looking at central region, looking at the facility that you went to. How many of these dialysis equipment did you find, or officially were you told that, okay, this is what's functioning?
Okay, so I think there were about 3 of them.
So 3 serving everyone who comes there.
Exactly. So in times past, it was even burdensome for them. I don't know whether the Western region has now got some machine, because the last time I was speaking with them, they told me that a lot of the cases were coming from the Western region, and perhaps pointing to the illegal mining craze that we are all concerned about. But now it looks as if that part also has. Just like the Upper West region now has a dialysis machine, a functional renal unit that people would have to go on. But a lot of them relate to the costs and where they will be traveling from. So if you are in Cape Coast, maybe you can just pick a taxi and then go. But if you find yourself beyond Kakum National Park, Chufu Mampon, Chufu Praso, and sometimes from
additional
cost traveling from, and you know the person is not really well. And when it happens like that, you need to measure what you eat. So I listened to someone who said that initially he weighed 80 kg, but because of the restrictions and don't eat this and don't eat that, now he weighs barely 50 kilograms. It's just like the 50 kg. Yes, exactly. So you see, the water that you take is measured. If you take beyond that quantity,
what happens?
You feel a lot of discomfort in your body. And that is why you need to go to the hospital for all of these toxic substances to be drained out of you. So that is the work the kidney machine or the renal machine does. So it performs the work. Otherwise, the kidneys would have performed in your body. But now the kidneys are not functioning. So if you take in things that will be burdensome for the kidneys, then it means that you need to go to the hospital for it to be drained. So others, I mean, accurately, there should be 3 sessions. But now they have seen
people can't even do that 3.
So they do 2. But you see, the danger in doing 1 or 2, I mean, it compounds the situation.
Because you're not getting treated.
Exactly. But some have been able to stay. But I have met 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds. So you cannot really point to the fact that, it relates to this particular age group. The children are now getting it, the elderly 40, even 50, 60 people. So gone were the days where people had problems, but they didn't really test for kidney failures.
All right. Richard Kojenyaku, thank you for joining us with that. And Dr. Anaba, let me take your thoughts on the point he's just built for us about the disproportionate level at which we have some of the regions having a higher concentration of the renal machines or the dialysis equipment, and the remote areas, for instance, in the north where you are, some of the facilities don't even have one.
I think besides the Tamale Teaching Hospital and the Wa Regional Hospital, there's no any other hospital in the north that has it. I know of some private hospitals that are working hard to get it established. The problem is that if you establish it as a private person, and you are not able to manage it well, it will collapse and the investment will go away. This is where I think we will need a work of national security to assess some of this data and say, look, we are losing people just because of dialysis. What can we do to minimize the loss of life just because of renal dialysis? No, we don't see those things. So I think once they know that the northern sector is the most poorest part of Ghana and that the very poor people come from that area, definitely anybody with a renal failure would have a challenge in paying for the dialysis. This is where government needs to come in.
Yeah.
At least all regional hospitals, at least people who need dialysis. Because private sector, if you establish and they can't pay, it means your investment has gone to nothing.
Yeah.
So this is where government needs to come
in. I see.
You see, for the data we have, out of the people who get coronary renal failure up north here, less than 10% of them are able to do dialysis for 3 months. And less than 1% is able to do dialysis for 1 year. So if you have 100 people who have chronic renal failure up north here, then 90 of them will die within 3 months. That is what it means.
Yeah.
And this is where national security, the government, research to see what support they can give, because it's not all of them who get the renal failure who cannot be saved. Let me tell you, pregnant women who develop eclampsia, some of them go end up in renal failure, acute renal failure. And if you are able to do dialysis for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you get your kidney back. But if you are not able to raise the money, it means those unfortunate women will die just because they don't have money. It is true. They don't have money. What is the income levels here? Very, very low. So it's very sad. And I think we need serious government intervention.
All right. Doc, I'll take your thoughts on one last issue, but that will be after we do this. The issue about, the use of herbal medicine and, how we can have, for instance, the FDA clamp down on the use of unapproved medication. It's a key issue that we need to look at. But I also need to inform our listeners that in a few minutes from now, we'll be having that extensive conversation on this, because later at 5 p.m., Joy News will be having that national convention on the national dialysis crisis and the way forward to changing the situation. So head of the health desk here at Joy News, Fred Smith, is joining us with details of what we're to expect. We know this will not just be on the Joy News channel, this will be on Joy 99.7 FM and all of our other platforms. But why is it necessary that we have this conversation at this time?
Well, it presents a unique opportunity for us to find a solution to this. Of all those we've had who need treatment at the renal unit, majority of them can't afford. Those who could afford have now become poorer because they were spending all their resources on this. And within a few months or maybe a year or two, you run out of money and it becomes very difficult for you to afford dialysis treatment. And therefore, all you have to do, we had Dr. Adaba say, die, unless you get the money. And if you don't have the money, it's only one thing happening to you.
At the end of the conversation, what are we seeking to achieve?
Well, we're seeking to drive change, seeking to find a solution to the crisis that we find ourselves in. We will have government representatives here. The presidential advisor on health is going to be around, so we'd like to hear from them. What is government going to do? Government is the one who keeps all our money. What can government do to bring relief to those who need this dialysis treatment? We'll also have the National Health Insurance Scheme. There was a suggestion by the WHO recently that, yes, we could use the National Health Insurance Scheme to address this gap. We will explore that as well, but it will also require money. So we'll find out how we're going to be able to do that. And ultimately, we'd like to hear from the experts who will speak on what individually we can do so we stay away from kidney problems in the first place, so we don't have to end up in a hospital.
So it's a mix of issues, having the solutions on the dialysis problem and also trying to promote healthy living. But just as we wrap up, the point about who can be a part of this conversation and how the general public can also feed into the conversation that we'll be having. Are we making room for that?
Yes, we are all at risk. So each and every one of us must pay attention to what's going on today. It starts at 5 p.m. and we expect that whoever you are, wherever you are, you will find a way to join us either on radio or on TV. We will have a live stream as well on our our website, majoronline.com, and also on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, now X, and the others.
Indeed, and it's just about 40 minutes away, so you want to stay with us here on the Joy News channel. Dr. Anaba, we're all looking forward to that thought leadership, but let's start off by promoting healthy living. The reliance on herbal medicine is being pointed out as one of the key causative factors. Also, the point about unlicensed and registered or unauthorized medication. It's all part of the challenge. So medication for kidney disease treatment. What should the public know about this?
For kidney disease treatment, medications are really difficult, very difficult, because if the nephrons are destroyed, the only alternative you have is to get a filter, external filter, like the dialysis machine, to do the work for you. What we need to do preventively is to make sure that all herbal medicines that are sold in Ghana are properly licensed and clearly explained what treatment they can be used for. Sometimes you check with the Food and Drugs Board, and as they go for a certificate for a supplement, you end up seeing some of them on some TV stations, you're hearing them from radio stations as treatment for certain diseases. Let me tell the general public, most of the herbal medicines they sell around are considered by FDA as supplements, and supplements are not medications. Let's be aware of that. And some of them will go for one license, and at the end, they sell thousands of medications, or sell one medication for thousands of ailments, which may not be true. Besides that, the villages, you go inwards, inside the villages, and you see people carrying things that the ground, the boils, and they are just selling it, and people, for lack of resources to go to hospital, unfortunately, fall victim of some of these things. And these things can really cause problems. I have seen some of them. I have seen patients with serious liver failure, renal issues, serious renal issues, just because they went in to drink some concoctions to cure typhoid. They went in to drink some concoction to cure some sore throat. So it is true that serious research needs to be done, and there should be serious control mechanism established by FDA and the national security to clamp down on illegal herbal medicines that are circulating in the market. However, they say, so that we minimize are not good. You go to the US, there are herbal medications, we call it the one dollar tree, and people go there, they are supplements, they call them supplements. But here we call them medication. That is where the mistake is. Unless it is really proven to have any efficacy and safety to treat a particular disease, no one should take any of these medicine, supplements as a medication. And FDA needs to come out clearly educating the public on the drugs that they are licensed, and also go to the market and do some surveys to clamp down on those who are cheating people, making people fall prey of their ignorance and getting renal disease and hepatic diseases. It goes alongside with liver failure. Most of the times, they go alongside with liver failure, which is very dangerous.
Okay. Dr. Thomas Anaba, thank you for spending time with us on the Joy News channel. And of course, in just about 40 minutes, we'll be having that thought leadership put together by the Joy News team, where we'll have responses on all the concerns you might have about this kidney disease condition, and also the national dialysis crisis as we have it. Reps from the presidency, the presidential advisor on health, will be here, also part of the dialogue, and we'll be hearing from NHIS as well as part of the concerns on social protection. So all of that will be coming up here in the next half hour. You want to stay with us here on the Joy News channel. You're still watching the polls. When we get back, we'll tell you more about the stories that we have for you. Please stay. The Rotary Club of Accra East and Eau Claire of the United States of America have presented some 50 thermal congolators to the Cervical Cancer Prevention and Training Center of the Catholic Hospital in Bato. The cervical pre-cancer treatment devices purchased with some $70,000 US grant from the Rotary Foundation will be distributed across the country. There's more.
Cervical cancer is a malignant tumor of the lowermost part of the womb caused by the human papilloma virus. According to the International Cancer Organization, about 2,800 women are diagnosed with the disease every year in Ghana. About 1,700 patients die from the disease annually due to the lack of treatment facilities, equipment, and specialty. This informed a decision by the management of the Catholic Hospital in Bato to set up the Cervical Cancer Prevention and Training Center to train health professionals in diagnosing and treating the disease. Dr. Kofi Efa is the head of the center.
And these cancers and warts are not only on the cervix. For women, they can cause cancers on the vulva, of the vagina, of the cervix, of the anus, and of the oropharynx, the throat. For men, they can cause cancers of the penis, the anus, and the throat.
To intensify the fight against cervical cancer, the Rotary Club of Accra East and Eau of the United States of America presented 50 thermal coagulators to the center. The president of the Rotary Club of Accra East, Serge Ogan, indicated that it was his outfit's greatest desire to see women burdened with cervical cancer provided the best treatment to save their lives.
And Rotarians are people who are always trying to identify needs in their communities and see how they can take or organize impactful projects. 7 years ago, we were at Bato Hospital to start with them, giving them equipment that could really help them to move forward and to promote the fight against cervical cancer.
The management and trainees were elated about the presentation as it would enhance their service delivery and reduce the duration of treatment.
Together, we want to say we are so grateful to the Rotary Club for this presentation because previously we screened the women, we get positive cases and we don't have the necessary equipment to treat them. We end up referring them to Bato or higher facilities and they end up not going because most of these women are coming at the down there. It is difficult for them to, get means of resource like money to travel. So we are very grateful and we are very happy because now we can screen a lot of people and we can give them treatment. So we are very, very grateful.
These devices, 50 thermal coagulators, going to nearly 50 new institutions in the country. We hope to extend the number of institutions that can offer treatment for cervical precancer. Women will not have to travel long distances to access this service. And I believe that this is going to help in a big way to prevent cervical cancer in this country.
Stakeholders have, however, advocated for a national immunization campaign to protect the citizenry against cervical cancer. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Bato.
And the Ghana Football Association has now re-elected its incumbent president, Keto Kreku, who now has an opportunity to run Ghana football for the next 4 years. We have the latest for you. Joining us now is Musbal, who is monitoring all of the developments for Joy Sports up north, where all of this action is happening. Musbal, thank you for spending time with us and giving us some updates from where you are. The exercise has ended. Indeed, Keto Kreku will now serve as the GFA president for the next 4 years, but has he made any comments yet, and what's he looking forward to?
Hello, Blessed. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, it's been a very decent, elective Congress here in Tamale. The Ghana Football Association President Keto Kreku obviously has been elected for a second term, and this is despite the legal hurdles that it was characterized with. We know that there is an injunction application hearing at the Accra High Court, which is slated for October 14. And the Ghana Football Association is very much aware of this, but they went ahead to organize the elections with the hope that, because the court hasn't heard on it yet, so they're free to go ahead and hold the elections. And 120 delegates did turn out for this election. 124 delegates were expected to be in attendance, but 120 of them were there. And the Ghana Football Association president was able to get a whooping 117 yes votes. Just 2 went against him, and 1 was in abstention. So it was quite a massive endorsement for him in his second term. And that's exactly what he said in his speech after he was sworn in, that his election is testament to the faith that the football stakeholders have in him, hence why they've given him the nod to continue as president of the association. He was quite profound about unity and even apologizing to individuals whom he might have hurt in his first term. And I'm sure this is possibly directing at people like Ken Faisal, Alhaji Gruza, maybe George Afriyie. And George Afriyie in particular, he mentioned him, he called him out and said that he's reaching out to him. He should come on board and help them fix Ghana Football Association and take it to the next level, which he's hoping to do. So that's what has happened here. It was a very decent, orderly exercise that didn't take much time.
Yeah, I see. Very simple exercise, of course, when you have just one individual contesting the race. But how about George Afriyie? Any news of him? What the next line of action might be?
Well, for George Afriyie, he has a case in court. He filed an application of injunction in court. It's expected to be heard on October 14th. I'm sure he will go to the court with his lawyers to look at that. He also has a case at the Court of Arbitration for Sport relative to his disqualification, and it's calling on the court to dismiss his disqualification. And the point is that if the hearing does go in his favor, what it practically means is that this election that was held here in Tamale will be null and void. But I'm sure the association handlers are very confident that George Afriyie possibly has no case. Hence, none of what happened here will ever be rendered useless. And just to point out also that it wasn't just the presidential elections that did take place. The election of members of the Executive Council also did take place. And we saw 5 representatives from the Ghana Premier League in the Executive Council.
Oh, now, that's an interesting one. I see James Kwesi appear there. That's the former coach of the national team.
Absolutely, former coach of the national team. And in fact, his election was one that raised some concerns because he's close to joining Sudan as the head coach of the Sudan national team. And people raise concerns about some potential conflict of interest in the event he goes there to work for Sudan FA and at the same time working for the Ghana Football Association. Where will his priorities be? However, the delegate felt that he still has the competency and the skill to work for the Ghana Football Association as a member of the Executive Council. I got to speak to him after the elections, and he says there's absolutely no reason to worry about him being overburdened working for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, working for the Sudan national team, and even working for the Ghana Football Association. There's no concern about him being overburdened, and even no concern about conflict of interest, because there's no way he's going to betray his country. And even the fact that the talk about Sudan is not yet finalized. But he's not the only one in there. You can see Dr. Randy Abe, Chief Executive Officer of Pando Heart of Lions. He got elected. Fred Champon, another seasoned administrator, also got elected there. And you can see a few others. Nana Odro Safo also in there. Someone like Eloya Mande, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Karela United. He lost his bid to be there. Well, there was also representatives of the Division 1 League. 3 representatives from the Division 1 League were also elected. And the current, immediate past Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, Mark Addo, he was elected. He got a whooping 32 votes there. Really, really good for him. And Gideon Fish also got his. And, Noel also got to be there. But in that very category of election, one man who failed to make the bid that surprised a lot of people is the manager of Asamoah Gyan, Samuel Enimado. He was part of the just gone by Executive Council, and considering his clout popularity, people did expect him to, be able to qualify and be part of the executive council, but he lost. He got just something about 13 votes there. So it didn't quite turn out well for him. The last person on the executive council is Mrs. Gifty Owari Mensah, who is representative for the Women's Premier League.
Yeah. Interesting days ahead, I see, especially with Kwesi Appiah. But anyway, we'll welcome you back home with all the controversies when you bring them. Of course, that's Muzwa giving us some updates on the GFA elections. And of course, the 2023 National Science and Maths Quiz is here again. The quiet corridors of KNUST's Brunei complex, there is battle for the bells and the ringers. Contestants of this year's NSMQ have transformed their rooms into arenas of intellectual warfare ahead of the prelim stage, which starts on Friday. My colleague Jacqueline Antomayeboa has more in this report.
Ukwas, what is the SI unit of the following physical quantities and determine whether they are scalar or vector quantities?
A, 3,6.
Contestants have been tirelessly prepping ahead of the National Science and Maths Quiz preliminary contest.
How long do you stay in a day prior to this contest?
Out of the 24 hours, 18.
Their dedication echoes in the midnight oil they burn, their textbooks worn from relentless study, and minds sharpened like the finest blade. They say the early bird indeed catches the worm. The hallways of Brunei complex echo with the sound of bells, ringers, and passionate debate.
The next school, A, 0,2, B, 8,1, and C, 7,3.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
7.5 square units.
That's correct.
For NIFA SHS, Equipaman SHS, and McGee's, they have converged to understand the significance of preparation.
NIFA, luminous intensity.
So it is candela and it is a scalar quantity.
That is also correct.
Their trainer believes that the students are well prepared and the daunting task ahead shouldn't be much of a hurdle to cross.
Yeah, we are very prepared for the contest ahead and we are very confident in them. They can make us proud.
As a preliminary contest begins, these young minds are not just participants, they are beacons of knowledge illuminating the path to a brighter future. Their commitment reminds us that in the pursuit of excellence, every moment of preparation counts. For Joy News, Jacqueline Antomayeboa.
Oh, it is a scalar quantity.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Here's National Science and Maths Quiz, but that's all we have for you in this package of the Pulse. We'll see you again and bless us with this more at myjoyonline.com. Next is Let's Talk Showbiz, and then after I will have the Thought Leadership series, which will focus on the dialysis crisis. You want to stay with us here on the Joy News channel. Thanks for watching.